Hello everyone, I'm Jesus and welcome to my 2-year anniversary video. It has been exactly 2 years since I joined Old School Magic the Gathering, since my first video on August 22, 2021. Today is August 22, 2023. First of all, apologies for not making a 1-year anniversary video. I totally forgot about it. I was so into this new world of Magic the Gathering old school playing and collecting that it's just slipped my mind, and now at least now I'm doing the 2nd-year anniversary video, and hopefully I remember to from now on make them yearly. So first I want to the first thing I want to do with this video is just highlight some of the most important cards that I've bought since joining Old School Magic. I have here, it's just showing the different other different kind of decks that I've also and formats that I've also been playing, and then here's some important events that I've attended, participated in, and then at the end I want to give 3 thoughts on just things that I either would have done differently or would have considered more now that I have 2 years experience in Old School Magic. So first of all, starting with the collection here, right? And then it's fair to say this is a very strong showing of my collection. Definitely I have other things as well, not mentioned here. I have a playset of IC Manipulators, Unlimited. I got a Ep.75, Force Field, some other things. But I think this is a very nice representation of where I'm at. So first of all, I got 7 out of the 9 Power 9 cards, all 5 Moxes, and Rico Time Walk. I have Chaos Orb, 2 The Abyss in Italian. I got 4 Serendipity Freeds, also 4 in white border. I have a Library of Alexandria. This is the most expensive card that I purchased out of everything. And then I have 17 dual lands, so I'm almost halfway, right? So a full playset would be 40. For the dual lands, I have 3 Underground Seas, 4 Tundras, 2 Scrublands, 4 Savannas, and 4 Tropical Islands. My power is all CE Collector's Edition, and when I say Collector's Edition, I also mean some of these are International Collector's Edition as well, right? So it's a mixed bag between those 2 variations, right? But basically the same thing in general. Chaos Orb is also CE, and I have some other CE cards as well, like the Force Field I mentioned, that's CE. Let's see. Okay, so here, since this is more old school related, going into these cards over here, not expensive at all, but it's what they represent is what's important. So just cards, 3 cards from 2 big events that I attended. So first of all, John Con, that was a nice, my first, I would say more competitive old school Magic event. So this is just the memento given out. And then recently, just a couple months ago, where I attended my first Lobster Con. So this is the card given for the old school main event, and this is the card given for the X Points side event. I attended both, so these are pretty cool just memories, and thus I intend to continue on with this tradition of me taking the free card given for the event, which all these events, you get a free card in general. And so if it's a pretty hefty enough event, I'm going to continue on with this tradition of just putting in a top loader for just for memory's sake. All right, so now I wanted to here just highlight also other types of decks and that I still consider to be old school Magic. So first of all, right, these cards here, I mainly got them for me to join Atlantic and X Points Magic formats. Right, they all use the same card pool. The only difference is X Points has a lot of the more powerful cards get a point value, and you can only have up to 10, right? So, and that just to keep decks more interesting. So it requires more thought and more compromise, because you can't just have all the power and then just some other cards, because many decks are very similar because of that, right? In Atlantic and Eternal Central. But that's the only difference between those two forms. It's more about just that point system, and basically the differences are minor, right? The only difference is based off what's allowed, what's not allowed, or how much of it is allowed. But the card pool is identical. So that's why these cards now over here is these two decks actually is a totally different ball game. First of all, over here, like I mentioned, with these cards in general, my first intention was to join X Point and Atlantic, and also Eternal Central old school events. I haven't played much Eternal Central because mainly in North America we do Atlantic, right? But like I said, it's the same card pool. I could, just as easily play those events as well. But something separate, which is still related to old school, is here is my old school Highlander deck, or Sisterton deck, Singleton deck, or Commander deck. It has different names depending on the rules and the cards allowed. But it's basically, the basic idea is 100 card deck. Singleton, meaning you can only, other than basic lands, you're only allowed one of the cards. So this particular deck is good for various formats. I made it, but so it is old school legal, meaning still allowed from this card pool. But because of that restriction of only one of, and also these events tend to have also restrictions on either you get points, it's similar to X Points, or some cards are just banned. For once again, to make the decks more interesting, more just to force you to play with cards and combinations you normally wouldn't. So I really enjoyed this this format as well, right? Like I said, this is just, there's many different formats that you can play, so it's very versatile as well, which I enjoy, right? So this is just a quick peek at this Singleton deck that I have here. I have another one as well. Right there it is. There's my one of the cards I was mentioning. Well, Cyclopean Tomb. So this is just a quick view of that one, just to be more concise in terms of just the things that I've been doing this past year, and just the different formats and different things I've joined and been participating in old school related. There's the force field, CE. Here I have a Chaos Orb proxy, just to avoid having to switch all around so much, right? And proxies are in general, you have to check with your play group, right? With your play group, but in general, I think people will be fine, especially if you already have the card and you just, like everybody, a lot of people proxy their Chaos Orb because of that reason, right? These are like $600-700 near mint. You're not going to buy more of these just so you don't have to swap, right? That's just ridiculous. So people just, that's pretty common to, same thing with library, right? So it's pretty common to proxy some of these cards to avoid so much back and forth. All right, now going into totally different formats and cards. So this is my current Alice deck. So Alice is Ice Age Alliances. And as you're seeing here, only cards from Ice Age and Alliances are allowed. This is a mono green deck. In terms of pricing, this is way more expensive than related to this. This whole deck is, I mean, of course, this whole deck is cheaper than most everything. Probably this card is the same price as this whole deck. Maybe even more. We'll see. But yeah, I think in general, I think that's a good estimation, right? But yeah, it's very cheap in comparison, right? But still very fun. Alice is a way slower format, right? So it was a big shock going from this to this. But as I said in previous videos, I started technically in revised, but I only bought like 2 packs, and then I was gifted some cards by friends and by a teacher actually from when I was in middle school back then. And then when I started really getting into it and buying cards is when Ice Age was out, right? So that's why Ice Age and Alliances have such a I have a soft spot for them, right? So nothing particularly expensive here. It's more nostalgia and more just, you know, me expanding my horizons and, you know, just trying out different things. So this is another good representation of, you know, the other things I've been doing old school related. And then this is the more recent addition. This is my Mirage block deck. This format only, as the name implies, only allows cards from the Mirage block, which is Mirage, Visions, and Weatherlight. This is a mono black deck. And actually, I ended up attending my very first Mirage block online tournament, and I actually won the tournament. I felt a little bad winning, or at least, you know, like kind of bittersweet, mainly because this deck is a net deck. This is a deck I just took from online from a top this deck player, Tony Sai, I believe, got either top 4, top 8 with this deck in the actual time frame, which was 95, 96. So I just, you know, since I was so new to this format, Mirage Block, I'm like, okay, let me net deck, you know, copy a few of the decks I see online, and then just let me buy them, the cards, let me play the decks, because, you know, they're proven to be good, and then just to get experience. But lo and behold, I actually won the tournament with it. I started with 2 losses, but then I got all wins, and then the playoffs, and then I just won all the way to the end. So once again, this also very cheap in relation to this. I would say these are similar price. But in general, I would say Mirage Black is slightly cheaper actually than Ice Age. But, you know, I just joined, right? So, and plus, you know, this is just in general based on the cards I've bought. I haven't had that much experience with Mirage Block. Like I said, I just joined the first tournament that I just recently for Mirage Block, and I won just by sheer luck and just by net decking. But nonetheless, it was pretty cool experience, and similar to Ice Age, like I said, this is where, you know, I was really falling in love with Magic. This was the next block, right after Ice Age. So also I have a soft spot for the cards in this format as well. All right, so this is very nice representation of the last 2 years of my involvement in old school Magic. So now onto the 3 thoughts that I have in terms of just what I would have done differently, or, you know, considered more of now that I have 2 years experience in old school Magic. Number 1, if I had to do it all over again, I would not put such a big emphasis on collecting near mint cards, and not be afraid to collect heavy played, even damaged cards, quite frankly. My collection would be definitely a bit more robust. Maybe I would have even had a Black Lotus by now if I had been in the beginning more okay with accepting of buying heavy played, damaged cards, stuff like that, right? So right here, this Mox Ruby, I believe, is near mint. Emerald near mint. Jet definitely near mint. Pearl near mint. Well, maybe the Emerald is light play, but, you know, at least 3 out of the 5 are near mint. Then this is Sapphire's heavy played. Chaos Orb near mint I bought it. In fact, this was the very big, my very first big expense that opened the floodgates for everything else, right? So near mint. Ancestral Recall was near mint, I believe. But then the Taiwako is heavy play, right? So the things that I mentioned was near mint is because I bought them first. And then as I was seeing my bank account amounts drop and my credit card bills going higher and higher, I'm like, okay, I gotta not be so so particular about the condition. I just need the cards. And then that's when I allowed myself to get cards that were light play first. I said, okay, let me try to get light play, and then okay, let me go MP moderate play, and then okay, let me just do heavy play, whatever. Damage, right? Because some of these are damaged, considered damage because they are. So this Mox Sapphire actually is not only heavy play, but it's also considered damage because this is a collector's edition, and as you see, the corners have been cut up. That automatically, you tamper with the condition of the card by cutting it, it's already damaged. This Library of Alexandria looks awesome, but it's actually damaged because it has ink. Very, very light. I believe it's on the back, not the front, if anything. The front looks excellent. Light play, maybe a near mint, right? But it does have that ink, which is not visible. It's not visible here, but it does have it, and then that dropped the price. But honestly, that's what I was looking for. I was looking for a cheaper Library of Alexandria, because if I wanted to get a near mint like I had gotten some other ones, I would have never gotten it, right? It was just too expensive. So I say this with that in mind of just if your intention is to play, which was always my intention, I would unless you have the monetary capacity to go near mint the whole way, then of course do it, right? But I would say for most of us, we gotta we gotta watch ourselves, right? So if that's the case, then I would right from the very beginning advise you to just go with heavy plate, at least for the real expensive stuff, right? So maybe some other things, maybe you can get more light play near mint. So these the dual lands, also the same thing. There's some that are near mint, but then little by little I drop my criteria and like, okay, I'll take some light play, and then okay, I'll take some moderate play, and then okay, I'll just take some heavy play, whatever. Right. But once again, I could have maybe had I could have definitely had a few more dual lands if all of these were heavy played instead. Right. So if I had to do it all over again with the understanding that I want to play, I would have gone with all heavy play. All right. So that's number one. Number two is related to this. I would have also been more open to cards from other just from I guess unconventional sets. I guess sets is the way to put it. So what do I mean by that? Here we go. This is a great representation of what I mean. So these two cards are the Abyss. I got these especially because I wanted to make the deck, Brian Weissman's The Deck. I saw several videos on his his process of creating the deck. And so he had a deck list, right? And then it required two The Abyss, but they're very expensive in English. I had not to that point, I believe, gotten a foreign card. But just seeing that price difference, basically half the price of Italian The Abyss as opposed to English, or near that, it just made sense, especially considering these two cards I just wanted it for that particular deck, right? And then I haven't played these much at all. But that put into my head that, hey, you know what, I should have a more open mind about, where I get my cards, or how, from what alternate ways can I get the cards I need. Same thing here with my Serendipity Fruits. I had the revised ones for a long time, which were the which have the wrong art, wrong color, right? So, and then just just didn't feel like I actually had Serendipity Fruits, right? So, but the real ones. So first of all, in English, you can only get them in Arabian Nights only, with the like this, looking like this, with the correct color, with the correct art. But I could get them foreign white border, so they were so here they're in different languages, and I was able to get them for around like $60-$70 each. And if it wasn't for that, like, all four of these is not even the price of one English one. But now I do feel like I have Serendipity Fruits, right? Which of course I do, right? But I wouldn't have even considered this if I hadn't done this first, right? Or I'm pretty sure either one or the other. I'm pretty sure I did this one first. But just it opened up my mind to just other ways of other ways and other means of getting the cards I need. And of course, CE is also another way, way to achieve of growing your collection through other means. I've also purchased recently. Actually, over here's I can find a good example of what I'm going to mention. I've also started to purchase gold bordered tournament decks. So what these are is basically the same as collector's edition, right? It's a official proxy card. It's meant as a as a collectible. CE it gave you the whole place, the whole alpha, actually beta, the whole beta collection, right, all in one package, right? But it was as a collectible. So here is gold bordered City of Brass. There it is, right? So New York City, February 1996. So these are similar to CE in that they are not quote unquote tournament legal, but in old school, we really don't care about those things unless you're attending an official sanctioned event. And I just recently seen a new a sanctioned event coming up for old school. So I have such a wide collection of cards. I could still attend, right? I just couldn't use some of my power here. But for the most part, other than just literally just a couple of events that you may or may not have wanted to attend anyway, it just doesn't come into play. So what I ended up doing was, when I first started, I bought a full playset of Chronicles City of Brasses, which were like $30 each. Or that's because I just didn't consider this. This is near mint also, and this is like $5-$6. So I could have had a full playset for not even the price of one Chronicles City of Brass, and that's just because I just wasn't considering it. But I should have. People play with gold border cards all the time. People play with foreign edition cards all the time. People play with CE all the time. People play with proxies, right? Not in the tournaments, of course, unless it's allowed. But as casual play, that's totally fine, right? So I would advise you, if I had to do it all over again, definitely I could have saved a lot of money, like in this particular case, in other cases as well. Going also with foreign edition cards as opposed to just the traditional English ones. I'm pretty sure you could do that with the I've seen foreign dual lands as well. Since I already started with the revised collection, I probably want to just finish it off in revised as well, in English revised. But if you're looking to start brand new, that could be an option, right? As Some of these are only available in English, but there are a lot of these that are available in other languages. So specifically for old school, I believe, so Alpha Beta Unlimited, only in English. Revise is available in other languages, like you see here, right? And the Four Horsemen, Arabian Nights, and Antiquities are now available in foreign editions, but Legends and the Dark are. So here it is, Legends, the Abyss. Here, revised, correct art, foreign Serendeeps, right? So do your research. So these are things just I had to learn, as I was going along. Plus, I had to see that other players using gold border cards. I thought nobody would use them, but no, people use them all the time. This is legal. So that's another way I could have saved some money there as well, right? So like I said, if your intention is to play and you want to have a robust collection, then you gotta find ways to keep the price low, because that's going to let you have more cards. If you don't care about the condition or the language, or if it's a gold border or not, right? So these are all allowed, and you can play tournaments with gold border cards all the time, right? Like I said, unless it's like sanctioned by Wizards, which is, there's hardly any tournament sanctioned by old school sanctioned by Wizards anyway, then it just doesn't come into play, and this just gives you more options to grow your collection. So that was two things. So let me think. Okay, so yeah, the last thing I wanted to mention is to expand your idea of what old school is, right? So of course there is traditional 93, 94 old school, which is what I started with. But even within that, right, there's subsets. There's Alpha 40, where you're only allowed alpha cards. That's probably the priciest way I think you can participate in, because Alpha Art is the priciest collection, of course, because it's the first. Swedish is another one that's extremely pricey, because only Alpha Beta Unlimited and the Four Horsemen are allowed. It's not even, Revise isn't even allowed in that. Right, so there's, within this, there's a lot of, other subsets that's let some cards in, don't let some cards in, right? So, but that's just the first 2 years of Magic, right? Like I said in my for my story, I barely started in Revise. Really, I grew up loving Magic based off these sets over here, right? So if you're that set on joining quote unquote old school, I would say, don't think this is old school over here and nothing else is old school. I would say this is also old school. Ice Age block, Ice Age alliances. That's literally just the next year. I would say this is also old school. Mirage block format. So I got into these formats after, going into this 1994 old school. But then just from the online communities I joined, I noticed other players playing with these formats, and then since I have a soft spot for these cards as well, I joined. And the more I played with them, the more nostalgia I was feeling also for these cards. The more I realized, to me, this is also my old school experience with back in the day. If anything, these cards, everything you see here, I've literally never, ever, ever owned them. I never owned a single dual land. I never, of course, never owned any power. I never had none of these, right? It was more as an adult is when, I learned about the history of Magic, and I wanted to play with these cards, right? So, but this is just the most expensive, right? There's other cards, Urnham Gins and Coral Worms, this is just the things that get the most hype because these are the most expensive. But there's more to this than old school, of course, right? There it is, Scavenger Folk. These cards are simple dollar cards here, a few cents, but you see them a lot in old school as well, right? So that's just to say, old school is not all about expensive cards, right? This is also just as much old school as this is, 92, 94 old school. And to me, this is also old school, right? So if you're looking to join old school, if you have your heart set 100% on 1994 old school, like I did initially, definitely go for this, of course. Then I would say follow my 2 tips if you want to just have more ways of growing your collection with the intention of playing and not collecting and not, having pristine cards because, you don't care. You just care about the cards to play. But if you have an open mind and let's say maybe you just don't have the budget for this, I would say this is also a very viable option. Way less expensive, like I said. These two that combine, wow, so the price of this one over here. Right, so you'll get those that, if you came from that era where I was early mid 90s, late 90s as well. All this plus all this is what you knew, right? So I would say have an open mind, keep more options open, and if your budget is the thing that's preventing you from joining old school, which was me, that's why I have been fearing about these cards for way longer than I actually ended up when I ended up joining 2 years ago. But I just, I knew the prices. I just wouldn't let myself, go there. But that's because and then of course my situation changed and then I did. But honestly, back then when I know I couldn't afford this, I just had in my head that, okay, this is old school. If I can't do this, then I can't do old school. But I should have considered this, right? I just didn't know. This is not as popular as this, of course. These two formats is just, developing. It's a very small community. But they were there back there. This one, Alice was back there, and I'm sure you could have. There were people, playing with Mirage Block as well, but I just was so. I had the blinders on for this set of cards that I just didn't even consider this. Where I could have played these and then kept growing my collection, and getting that old school fix that I couldn't get because I couldn't get these cards over here, right? But to me, this is also old school, right? So if you can and you want, join here, follow my first 2 tips. If you can't, or you just won't let yourself, you just maybe you can, but you're just not gonna go there because of the price, then consider this. I think you'll get a lot of the nostalgia as well. It's just a different animal. This format to that is just different, right? They don't compare. But different doesn't mean better. I have a lot of fun with Atlas, and I had a lot of fun with this recent Mirage tournament that I joined, and hopefully by the time I hit my next year anniversary, I will be officially joining pre-modern, right? So another expansion of what you would consider quote unquote old school, right? So don't think this is only old school here. This old school is way bigger than that. So have an open mind, try other things. Pre-modern is also an excellent way of joining old school. And yeah, between those, those 3 tips, I think someone else either looking to join, or maybe you've already joined, but you haven't, gone this deep like I have. And hopefully this gives you some guidance how to steer the ship, and just going in different directions and opening up your mind to different options. So we'll leave it up to there for today. Thank you for watching.